Welcome to Olivia's Blooms. If you are new to my channel, I'm gardening in Charlottesville, Virginia, Zone 7B. I'm a home gardener who loves growing my own cut flowers and home decor with a focus on sustainable, regenerative, and eco-friendly practices. But most importantly, I'm here to support, share with, and learn from other gardeners, so I hope you will join me in growing this amazing gardening community. Hey guys, welcome back to Olivia's Blooms. It is a sunny spring day here, a little bit chilly, but the whole garden is waking up and I have just been having the best time walking through it, seeing what's in its prime and what's starting to wake up. And I thought I would take you on a little spring garden tour since my garden tours seem to be some of my most popular videos. So let me know in the comments too if you want to see more garden tours or if you like my other content focused on growing your own flowers. But I've got my garden helpers Chase and Bear out here with me, and I'm just going to take you around and show you mostly what's in its prime, because I love that the garden just looks so different in every season and there's things to enjoy throughout the whole year. So we're going to focus on what's looking good in spring. So come along with me. First I got to show you though this red bud tree on my deck. So let me turn you around. So for my husband's birthday, he wanted to get a tree for our deck. Lucky me that my husband asks for garden related things for his birthday. So we picked out this Ruby Falls redbud. Redbuds do really well in our area. This one we thought would do well in our container, and it's loaded with buds right now, so it should be blooming any minute. And then when it leaves out, it has these beautiful dark maroon and green leaves in sort of a weeping pattern. So I'll definitely show you that when I do a summer tour. And then we have our winter pot here, still looking amazing, but on its way out, you can see this kale is about to bloom, and I'll probably let it bloom. That wouldn't be too hard to look at. And of course, pansies are at their prime this time of year. Chase, you gonna help us? All right, so here is just a backed up look. It still looks pretty empty. Even the trees haven't quite leafed out yet, although they're starting to. But we are in, it's March 24th. We are in very early spring here. But last night was about 33. Our average last frost date is April 10th. I don't think we're gonna get any more frosts, or if we do, it's gonna be maybe one. So our last frost this year might have been a couple weeks ago. We haven't dipped down to 32 for a while, but it's still pretty cold. So let me start back here. Not much to see in this corner, except for Bear. Bear, what you doing? What you doing? But we have the Queen Anne's lace and the white finch Orlea looking beautiful, getting ready to pop up here soon, and some late tulips. These grapes I'm gonna be taking out. They just tasted terrible and I did not pay attention to them. They are not seedless grapes and nobody in my family enjoyed them. So with how little space we have in the actual garden beds, I'm going to make sure I love every single plant that's here. So we'll be taking that out. And apologies for the shadows, it's early in the morning here, but you can see my sweet peas are looking pretty good. And they are scattered throughout the garden. Anytime you see a wooden trellis, usually it means there's sweet peas underneath there. And the daffodils are in their prime. There aren't a whole lot of flowers to see because I have been cutting these. These are a cut variety. And I'm gonna do a daffodil tour video soon to just show you all the different varieties I grew and which ones I liked best and how they worked in the vase. And then what's crazy is we have this beautiful pear espalier. My youngest daughter loves pears, and so in an attempt to encourage her to eat fruit, we have 2 pear trees. But you'll notice this is the second year that this pear has not flowered. Sadly, it must not be getting the nutrition it needs, because our pear across the way, and I'll show you when we get there, is in fact flowering. It's full of flowers, and they're the same age and otherwise same conditions. They should be getting the same amount of sun, and it's the same with this cherry tree here. This one is just getting leaves right now, but my other one has some flowers, so it's amazing how much soil can make a difference. This is a euphorbia that is just stunning and blooms this time of year. We didn't cut it back because we wanted to enjoy these lovely chartreuse blooms. The color is just pops this time of year. And then you can see the salvia and the peonies waking up. Some tulips I'll be harvesting here very soon. But something that is in its full glory in this chilly weather is this candy tuft, also known as Iberis. So if you want something that is just full blooming in the early spring, and it's been blooming now for a couple weeks, candy tuft is a great plant, and these are perennial here for us. And you'll notice I have scattered everywhere. I have just let our pansies seed themselves. I just think that look is adorable this time of year. These unexpected pops of color in the garden, they make me happy, and they're pretty easy to pull out where I don't want them. So I just let my pansies go wild, and I don't regret it at all. And I love having all different colors, and it's just so needed this time of year, I think. So here's some pansies. I'm doing my best to keep my shadow out of here. Sedums are starting to come up. And our roses, you can see I pruned our climbing rose back here. They are all leafed out, so I think in the next couple weeks we should have some beautiful roses blooming. Which might be one of the only times we get to enjoy roses because of how bad the Japanese beetles have been. This enormous anemone, it's a full star blue. I've been cutting off of it. I've gotten about 4 or 5 stems so far. I thought I had dug up all my anemones here, but this one stayed in the ground, and I have gotten the earliest, the first one bloomed on March 2nd. I cannot believe it. And you can see here even more stems coming up. So I am absolutely going to plant my anemones in the fall this coming year because of how early and how well these did in the landscape over the winter. This is one of my favorite pockets in the garden right now. Look at this combination. Muscari. This Muscari is a few years old and is just stunning. A stunning color of blue with this big patch of pansies. Sometimes things that just happen naturally in the garden can be the most beautiful. And they're backed by all of my larkspur that I seeded in the fall and is again starting to really fluff out. I think we'll have some really pretty larkspur stems in the next month or so. And a big lavender plant that I should have cut back, so I have to make sure to cut it back pretty hard this year. And this spot has been really popular with the birds. This was full just a week and a half ago. I wanted to show you guys this bush. This is a gray owl juniper, and what I love about this is the color. It's a very kind of grayish blue, which is a good contrast when you've got evergreens. So here's our very green Norway spruce, but these do so well in our area. It's already grown so much in the last year. We're gonna have to keep it in check because I don't want this whole area of the garden to be one large evergreen shrub, but just doing so well. These love our clay soil. And this area is mostly seeds that are coming up. We've got the Nigella, I seeded in the fall in one of my videos, and these are gonna be beautiful giant globe master alliums. This green, this ring of green you see right here, love those. I cannot wait to show you those in full bloom. And then here I have some Cynoglossum, also known as forget-me-nots, and some clary sage that I'm hoping to use for my cut flower business. So we'll see how they do in the landscape. Now this is probably the most beautiful thing in our garden right now, and this is our dwarf peach. It opened up in these light pink blooms that have just darkened to this gorgeous shade of pink, covered in blooms. It's self-pollinating, so we've been enjoying this, and I can't wait till it's big enough that I might be able to cut some of these branches and bring them inside without feeling too guilty. But one of our favorite things to look at in the garden right now. Over here is another pretty spot. This is where we put a lot of our daffodils, the ones that I'm not going to be cutting, and I want them to naturalize under this beautiful beech tree, which is not leafed out, but it's notoriously hard to plant underneath a well-established tree, so I'm hoping to have a nice carpet of daffodils and pansies this time of year, but it'll take some time for it to fill in. These are probably some of my favorite daffodils in the garden right now. Beautiful, just clear white trumpets. And then of course the cheerful yellow. I'm also loving, these are columbine that are gonna have some gorgeous red flowers soon, but I am enjoying the bluish green color on the leaves in this landscape. It just looks so fresh. And then this is a plant that I planted in one of our spring planters last year and planted it out in our landscape after, hoping that it would perennialize. And look at that color. I cannot remember the name of it, but I will put it on the screen. This corner is a little bare right now. Things are still waking up. Our ewe is looking happy. What's making me a little sad is we had a gigantic bleeding heart last year. It was my favorite plant in the spring, and it looks like it struggled to come back. Now it's just this tiny little plant with these cute hearts. So I'm sad. I hope that this plant continues to grow. I wanted to put more in, but I might wait a year to make sure that these can overwinter for us. Here we have some tulips that did come back from 2 years ago. Another ewe looking really happy. Probably the most enjoyable thing in the garden right now is the sound of that waterfall, because we are pretty much past our last freezes. We turned that on. This shrub is really struggling, which I'm so disappointed about, because I really like this bright color in the shade back here. And the smell of these leaves too is just a wonderful like anise scent, but I think we're gonna have to replace the shrub. I'm not sure what disease it has. It's just struggling back here, so I'm gonna have to find something with similar color that can do well in the shade. We are struggling to have our Brunneras return as well. I had 3 planted here and only one's coming back. But this ground cover has exploded in these light blue blooms. Really happy back here, and is going to look really pretty, especially contrasted with our Japanese maple that hasn't quite started to leaf out yet, but you can see it's getting ready to. Something else that's beautiful in this very early spring garden is this pieris. I've already cut some of these branches. I've had to refrain myself from cutting too much, but the bees have been loving this as well. and the blooms started off this deep pink color and then fade to a lighter white. But this shrub is gonna get pretty big here, so I think it'll put on quite the show for us in a few years. Here's our pond. Looking bare, but we have plans to fill it up with some warm season annuals, probably some coleus, and some sort of creeping vine there in the back. But very much enjoying the sound. Another one of my favorite spots in the garden. Our gnome has a friend now. My daughter likes to make these for her garden. Her favorite thing about the garden is the statuary, so she's adding some whimsy for us. But we have this beautiful, oh gosh, what is it called? Of course I can't remember the name. And I wish you could see, these flowers are all kind of fallen over right now, but when they stand up, look at that color. The most beautiful tri-colored blooms next to our hellebore patch that just keeps looking better and better. I need to show you some of these blooms. It's hard because they're facing down, but when you take a peek underneath, you're rewarded with some stunning color. And this one as well. And this is a coral bark Japanese maple. It's hard to see at the moment, but this bright coral red bark that is so nice to look at in the winter. We have Luca gems popping up. Can't wait to see those white blooms. Our blue spruce. Again, that nice blue color here. And I can't wait to see this patch of tulips open up. You can see they are just starting to color up, so we should have tulips in the next day or so. And this is my favorite ground cover. I wish I could remember what it's called, but look at those leaves and the beautiful, sweet little purple blooms. I need to get more of this. I think it might be my favorite ground cover we have. And then another sweet area full of pansies and muscari. And Bear, you being good, Bear? You being good? Eating something you're not supposed to? Here's my red rose leafing out. These tulips I know are going to be gorgeous, but look at their leaves. I love the variegation and that striped pattern. That's just as pretty to look at as the flowers. And our ajuga is getting ready to bloom here. You can see the buds, and it has these bright blue blooms, and I paired it with these phlox because they're usually blooming at the same time and they look beautiful together. And see, I just love coming upon these unexpected little pansies. It makes me smile. Our snowdrops are pretty much done, but they were a nice little early bloom to have. And here I think you can really see how much color the pansies bring to the garden. We'll get some close-ups on them. But look at how prolifically they seed themselves. These are all pansy seeds from the couple plants I had right here. Here's some more daffodils. You can see I went heavy on the daffodils this year. Another really nice pop of of color in the winter and a very early spring is this red twig dogwood. And I enjoyed cutting some of those red twigs as well to put in my holiday arrangements. And we've got the Sweet William here that I've been waiting a couple years, and I hope it's going to give me some blooms finally this year. Another super cute area full of color. Look at this thrift. I just cannot get over these cute little pink blooms, and it is about to burst. You can see all these little blooms and the tiniest little flowers on them right next to these deep purple pansies and this really bright blue pansy. Nice area. And then look at our autumn joy sedum. We divided it this year, and you can tell that it just loves to be divided and pretty much ignored. Okay, let me show you this pear tree covered in pear blooms. I hope we get some pears. You really want another tree to pollinate it. Our neighbors have a pear that's right behind our peach over there, so I'm hoping that was close enough that they'll be able to pollinate each other, since our other pear espalier is not blooming. And then you can see here, our cherry has a few blooms, not a lot. Again, not knowing if we're going to get cherries, since the other cherry tree does not have blooms, and I don't know of another one close by. And I will do a separate tour of the raised bed garden. No longer calling it my vegetable garden, since more than half of it is now flowers, but you can see it. There's a lot happening here. And then of course my rows for my new business are doing well. But that was just a little peek around the spring garden. Things are waking up. We should have even more to look at here soon. I thought you might enjoy seeing what's happening in my garden, and let me know what's waking up in yours. Thanks. Okay, just one more thing in the vegetable garden. I cannot help it. Look at these. I had to take some out so that my astilbe would have a fighting chance, but they are just loving this spot. There. So it is March 24th here. Just the start of spring. Bear, get out of my bed. Out, out. Down, Bear. Are you kidding me? Yeah, you better run.